Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into how organizations actually protect themselves from cyber threats.
Yeah, it's a big topic. We're looking at frameworks, policies, the tech, the whole defense toolkit,
Yeah,
basically.
we've pulled together some academic stuff, best practices, guides, the mission for you listening.
To walk away with a solid, real understanding of how modern cyber defense works, what strategies, what tools are actually being used.
Right, so let's jump in. Where do we start? Maybe with the structure.
Good idea. Frameworks are key, like COSO. People know it for internal controls, but it's surprisingly relevant for cybersecurity.
Okay, COSO.
Yeah.
How does that translate? I think of it more for finance.
Well, think about its objective. Operations, that's protecting your IT assets. Reporting, making sure your reporting around cyber controls is accurate. And compliance meeting standards like NIST, HIPAA, GDPR, it all fits.
Okay, I see the connection now. And in part has those 5 components.
Right. Control environment that's like, does senior management actually champion security? Risk assessment, tailoring it specifically to cyber threats. Control activities. These are your actual security policies and procedures in action. Information and communication, things like regular security training, making sure people know.
And the last one, monitoring.
Yep, monitoring activities. Things like penetration testing, vulnerability scans, maybe even reviewing phishing reports. It's about checking if everything's working. COSO helps management gauge their risk tolerance too and focus on what's critical.
Okay, that framework gives the why and the what that naturally leads to the how, which I guess involves security policies.
Exactly. You've got this hierarchy. Policies are the overview, the intent. Standards are the benchmarks, like we will adhere to this level of encryption.
And procedures.
Procedures are the step-by-step instructions, the real how-to. Policies are crucial, though. They show you're taking due care.
Makes sense. And there are different kinds. User policies.
Yeah, user policies, regulatory ones tied to laws, system-based policies. A really common one is the acceptable use policy, the AUP.
Right, the one everyone clicks accept on without reading.
Probably. But it covers a lot. What's allowed, personal device use, mobile devices, confidentiality, how they monitor. It's broad.
And specific mobile device policies too, especially with BYOD, bring your own device right.
Absolutely. Things like password rules on phones, mandatory MFA, encryption, what networks you can use, what apps you can download. BYOD gets tricky with monitoring personal devices and data ownership.
So policies set the rules. Standards like NIST or GDPR set the bar.
And then security standard operating procedures, SOPs, detail the specific actions. Often good to segment those by who owns the policy area.
Okay, policies sorted. Let's talk tech. Protecting the network itself. What are the key methods?
Well, first, understanding the basic bits helps routers, switches, firewalls. Then you get into methods like network segmentation.
Controlling traffic flow between parts of the network.
Exactly, isolating sections. Then firewalls, obviously, filtering traffic. Hiding your Wi-Fi name by disabling the SSID broadcast.
Oh yeah, simple but effective sometimes.
And VPNs, virtual private networks. They create a secure encrypted tunnel for communication. Think IPsec tunneling.
Wi-Fi too, like WPA3.
Definitely. WPA, WPA2, and now WPA3 offer increasing levels of encryption security. Then there's endpoint security.
Protecting the actual devices connected.
Yes. Every laptop, phone, server, antivirus, authentication, local firewalls, maybe host-based intrusion detection, and system hardening, reducing the attack surface on everything.
Databases, servers, the network gear itself.
Right. Minimizing vulnerabilities everywhere. Oh, and MMASI filtering, only allowing specific devices based on their hardware address.
Okay, network secured, but people still need access. Authorization and authentication come next.
Crucial. Concepts like zero trust, meaning you continuously validate, don't just trust because someone's inside the network.
That's privilege.
Granting only the absolute minimum access needed for a job, plus need to know for data access. Whitelisting apps is another angle only approved software runs.
So how do you prove someone is who they say they are? That's authentication.
Yeah. Identification is saying, I'm Bob. Authentication is proving it. Lots of tech here. Context-aware checks, digital signatures, single sign-on, or SSO.
Log in once, access multiple things.
Exactly. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is huge now. Palins, smart cards, tokens, those little key fobs.
Or phone apps now.
Right, generating codes. And biometrics, fingerprints, facial recognition, iris scans.
Still relies heavily on passwords, though, doesn't it? A common weak spot.
Often, yes. People reuse them, make them guessable, share them. We need strong, complex passwords. NIST has recommendations on length. Password managers help.
And storing them securely.
Using hashing. It's
Yeah.
a one-way process. You can't easily reverse it to get the original password. Also important is provisioning, setting up accounts correctly, and crucially, deprovisioning them when someone leaves.
Right. Removing access promptly. And device authentication, too. Verifying the machine itself.
Yes, that's another layer.
So we're trying to keep attackers out, but what about finding holes before they do? Vulnerability management.
That's the proactive part. Regularly scanning for known weaknesses. Using vulnerability assessment tools and scanners. The NIST Cybersecurity Framework, CSF, actually outlines this well. Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover.
How do those scanners work?
They usually check against a big database of known threats, like the CVE list common vulnerabilities and exposures. They scan open ports, analyze network packets, try to figure out what software you're running.
CVE standardizes the names for vulnerabilities, right?
Exactly. So everyone's talking about the same thing. A key part of managing vulnerabilities is patch management.
Applying updates and fixes.
Yes, but it's a process. Assess the patch, test it, plan the rollout, deploy it, and then validate it worked. You can't just slap patches on randomly.
It sounds like security isn't just one thing. It's lots of things working together.
That's the core idea of layered security or defense in depth. You combine people, policies, technology like intrusion detection and prevention systems, ID IPS, antivirus, firewalls, plus physical security.
Like locked doors, server cages.
Yeah, and logical controls like authentication and permissions. The goal is redundancy. If one layer is breached, another might stop the attack. Diversification helps too, using different types of controls.
You mentioned abstraction and concealment.
Abstraction hides complexity, limiting what users or processes can see or access. Concealment is about actively hiding data, often through access controls and security levels. Hardware segmentation is another angle, physically separate systems.
Okay, so lots of layers. Can we categorize the specific controls, like stopping versus finding versus fixing?
We can. Preventive controls aim to stop attacks outright. Think strong passwords, MFA, encryption, firewalls, patching, background checks, security training.
Detective controls.
They identify attacks happening or that have just happened. Network monitoring tools, log analysis, intrusion detection systems, and IDS alerts you, whereas an IPS tries to block the threat.
And corrected controls fix the problem after it's found.
Right. Reconfiguring firewalls, applying patches you missed, updating policies, more training, or running recovery plans. Antivirus removing a detected virus is corrective.
We also need ways to manage who gets access, right? Different models.
Yes, access control models are vital. Discretionary access control, DAC, lets the data owner decide. Mandatory access control, MAC, uses system-wide rules, often in high-security environments.
I've heard of RBAC.
Role-based access control, probably the most common. Access is based on your job role. There's also rule-based, policy-based, even risk-based access control, adapting permissions based on risk levels.
And how are these rules actually enforced technically?
Often through access control lists, or ACLs. They define permissions for users or groups on files, folders, or even network traffic. Think of network ACLs as being a bit like firewall rules, but often more granular or applied differently.
Wow, okay. We've covered a huge amount. From the strategic view with frameworks like COSO down through policies, network defenses, authentication methods, finding vulnerabilities, and this whole layered security idea with preventive, detective, and corrective controls.
It really is a complex, interconnected system. You need strength at every level.
Absolutely. It paints a clear picture of the constant effort involved.
Which brings us to something for you, the listener, to think about. Given that cyber threats are always changing, always evolving, how can organizations make sure their layered security isn't just static, but truly adaptive? How can they stay ready for risks we haven't even seen yet?